Hot 100 Studios in sunny San Diego, California. On the Air is on the air. Tommy, who do you have?
We have a great, iconic guest. May I have the honor to introduce him?
Good.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's a legendary newsman. He's an iconic news director. From Los Angeles to New York, from Arkansas to Aruba. He's originally from Philly, from KUSI News. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Steve Cohen.
Wow.
Wow.
Please,
You know what you guys don't know?
be seated, everybody.
Wow.
Hey,
How are you?
Good to see you.
This is the man who literally discovered almost all of us here for television. For television.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So is that a hit or what? Trouble?
We're going to see.
Already?
We're going to
Good
see.
stuff.
Good to see you
Congratulations.
guys.
Great to see you, Steve Cohen.
Thanks for having me.
What is your official title, by the way?
News director.
News director.
Director of News.
That's exactly right.
Well, just like my intro said, he's an iconic news
That's
director.
right.
You know what that is? You know what a news director is?
Old?
Yeah. What,
Well, thank you very much for that.
No, I'm just,
No, here's why it's called news director.
Yeah.
It's just like a film director. In other words, you don't command or demand from people. You just direct them.
direct.
that's
It's
exactly
like Scorsese. You just say like, hey, you're talented. That's why you're here.
Yeah.
So, but maybe Marlon, if you try this scene this way, it'll be a better for. Now, of course, Marlon doesn't listen to you.
No.
But some of my guys do.
I've had that.
On occasion.
I've had that meeting in his office before after.
Steve doesn't have to say anything.
A few
That's the thing.
attempts.
Steve just gives a look.
Yeah.
Because, by the way, Steve, by the way, I always say you're not the boss of me.
Yeah.
Steve, you're the boss of me.
He is the
I'm
boss.
not.
He is absolutely the boss.
I've never seen it that way. I really believe that you're there to help people and direct them. And you hire talented people, you have a great team, and you get the hell out of their way.
Yeah.
And that's what makes great teams work.
You know, I'm a radio guy, but I'm learning so much about television because of Mr. Steve Cohen.
Do you know what else he's a fan of other than television and news? The Sully Band.
I am.
Well, that's our house band today.
I like that.
I am a huge fan.
Can you guys kick us
Thank
off?
you,
Because
guys.
we're going to be wall-to-wall Steve Cohen and everything else Steve Cohen. We'll kick us off a little music today. James East, Tomoka Jarvis, John Reykjaviks. We've got Steve Dillard over there, Trace Hodgins, John Harford.
Talk about talent.
I forget. Mark Hattersley. I forget. Do you guys have something? Can you play a little something for us to start off?
Absolutely.
Knock it out. Give him something.
From the cities and they come from the smaller town. Beat up cars and guitars and drummers going crack, boom, bang. R-O-C-K in the USA. R-O-C-K in the USA. R-O-C-K in the USA. Yeah, yeah. Rocking in the USA. Say goodbye to the family, say goodbye to the friends. With parties in their heads and little money in their hands. Some are black and some are white. Ain't too proud to sleep on your floor tonight. Blind faith in Jesus, you know that they just fine. Rocking in the USA. Hey, hey, R-O-C-K in the USA. R-O-C-K in the USA. R-O-C-K in the USA. Yeah, yeah. Rock it in the USA.
How you like that? In honor of 4th, they don't even need me.
Take the week off,
Taking
Sully.
the week off.
You know, Mr.
Have you
Cohen,
seen this book here?
That's what I'm looking at. It's heavy as hell.
That's my
the
early
Bible.
Got
years.
more pages than the Bible.
But that's my early years. I mean, I haven't even written the
Right.
latter years yet.
but Mr. Cohen, I was reading your book, and you're responsible for a lot of people, from like Geraldo, Connie Chung. I mean, even John Tesh. Can you tell us about John Tesh? Like, how did that happen?
John Tesh.
John Tesh, one of the greats of all time, and a wonderful, just a wonderful human being. I have to say that. John and I were in the same newsroom. When I went to WCBS in New York as a young man, John was already the weekend anchor there, and destined to be, I think, he could have been the next Dan Rather. He could have been anybody. And I remember a bunch of things about John, but I remember the day in the old newsroom in New York where I pulled him aside, and he said to me, "I'm leaving."
Yeah.
And it broke my heart. And I said to him, John, you're the next big thing.
Yeah.
He said, this isn't what I want to do, Steve.
Yeah.
I want to play music. I want to do other things with my life. And of course, as a devoted CBS dude, I thought he was crazy.
Yeah.
And it's just one of the other things I was wrong about.
Yeah.
I wasn't crazy. John went to ET and then, of course, went on to his great career as a wonderful musician.
Yeah.
But beyond that and under that, there's a soul there that's just so special. And that's what my life's been about, is rubbing up against these great guys.
When's the last time you got a chance to talk to him?
It's been a while. We had a correspondence back and forth after I saw a performance of him and his family in Palm Springs.
What?
Well,
That's the last time that I saw him.
His family plays
I
too.
didn't see him. I didn't get to see him.
Well, let's resolve this
let's
issue
resolve
right
that.
now. Let's
Let's
resolve
ask
the
him
issue
right
right
now.
now.
Let's bring
up
him
on the
in.
screen.
No way.
Can you imagine? John Tesh.
John Tesh.
The inimitable.
No way.
John Tesh.
What is that
My
all
goodness.
about?
Is that true, John?
Hey, bud. How you doing, John?
I'm doing great, and boy, thank you for that big giant lie about soul and stuff. I really
No, that's
appreciate
you,
it.
man. I didn't know this was happening. That's you. I love you. You know that. And
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. I mean, gee, I'm hard to deal with. I mean, I'm getting better because I've been through a lot in the last 5 or 6 years, and I'm married to a crazy Italian. My wife Connie.
That's redundant.
She softened me up a little bit, but I was very, very headstrong, and I really did, by the way, Steve, want to be the next, maybe not the next Dan Rather, but maybe the next Cronkite.
right, that's right. I remember.
But I, when Terry O'Neill and those guys said, "Hey, why don't you come work for Network Sports?" That was the thing where it was like, "Oh, I'm going to the network." I had no idea what I was doing,
right?
And I probably would have been better to hang out longer, but I had at least one news director before Steve. And when he showed up, it just, and this is not the mutual admiration. I have no reason to hyperbolic this, but when he showed up in the newsroom, it was young blood.
Yeah.
Because CBS is, when you get there, it's like there's programs and practices. You can't say this, you can't say that, you can't do this, that, and a lot of rules and an easy way to get fired. But in that newsroom, I mean, gosh, John Stossel, Meredith Vieira, Brian Williams ended up in there eventually, Bill O'Reilly, great reporters like Chris Borgen. And so here comes the new guy. Yeah. And he just instantly, I mean, he was like Belichick, I mean, he just knew. I heard him mention that you just let people go. Mm-hmm. He did that, and he was an encourager. There are a lot of people who were just like, oh, don't do this, don't do that. But he let you go. And listen, he would never mention this, but I'm going to tell you something. I was at CBS when I was 23. At the time I was the youngest correspondent there, and it was a crazy time, 1976, 77. And 77 was when not only when Son of Sam was happening and New York was falling apart, but Abe Beame was the mayor, and they were going to declare bankruptcy. Mm-hmm. Feels a little like today. To be honest with you. And what happened was, I can't name any names because we're sworn to secrecy, but me and some of the correspondents, we would go to Studio 54 after, because it just started in 77, right, with Warhol and Halston and all those guys, and Steve Rubel. And so after we would do the news, we would go to Studio 54. And one night I stayed a little long. And I was overserved in about 4 or 5 different areas. Yeah. And I didn't live too far from the broadcast center, but I was late. I was supposed to come in and anchor the news.
John, do you know what we call that here? Tuesday.
Yeah, that's it.
Tuesday, yeah, I was going to say. Yeah. Anyway, what happened, sorry, you were probably hoping for a shorter segment, but what happened was that I came in and I was late, and I hadn't called in or anything because there were no cell phones or anything back then, right? Sure. And when I got to the door, Steve was waiting at that door, and I knew that I had screwed the pooch. I really did. And he just gave. I heard you mention the look, right? Yeah. Gave me the look, and it never happened again. Yeah. I mean, he could have said anything to me. You're fired.
Was it the look of why don't you go into music? Different look.
No, John.
Right. Yeah.
John, I wanted to ask you something. Do you remember back in those years? I think that you became homeless for us as a series. You dressed as a homeless man, and you stayed on the streets of New York for a few days, and you lost a shoe while you were. Do you remember that?
Again, we call that Tuesday.
Do you remember that story? That was in the beginning of really a spectacular beginning of sort of a type of journalism that hadn't been done before.
Yeah, it was. This was the time. Geraldo really started that, right? With with the way he was reporting. It was participatory journalism.
Yeah.
And you'd get laughed out, now laughed off the screen. But yeah, so this was Steve's idea. It was, why don't you? We have a terrible homeless problem in New York City. Sounds like now, actually.
Yeah.
And so they wanted me to get involved. And so I full beard, and I'm still a big guy, but I was bigger then. I was bigger and stronger then. And so I looked like a linebacker as a homeless person. Yeah. But it was like 2 degrees, and went out there and went with Steve Jackson, the great cameraman, and his partner, and we were out there with a one-way van, right? And so they were covering me walking along, trying to see how I would get treated. And here's another one of these stories. I couldn't get into it, right? I was freezing, and people were like, I looked so hideous and I was trying to walk with a limp, and yes, I lost a shoe. So yeah. Steve says, why don't you go into that liquor store and get some MD 2020? Yeah. Those people know what MD 20. And so I did. And so I was holding it, and then I was so cold I started drinking it, and so it didn't take long where I was definitely definitely in character. But we illustrated, beyond that, we illustrated the plight of the homeless person because people wouldn't talk to me. It was like being invisible.
Right. Hey, John, I got a question for you. As a significant force in the music business, you have written a number of songs, and can you give us up to date on what you're doing now, and also maybe talk about some of the cool stuff you've done? Because I don't know if you can see our band here. Maybe Jack can put the group over. But I think they have prepared a song that you have written, and maybe you could participate.
Guys, first of all, I have to tell you that whoever's mixing this is doing a good job. I'm here because
it's me. Right. It's me right here.
Yeah, it's all Sully.
No, it's Brian Parento. Brian Parento is
television music is, as Steve knows, television music is just
it's a rough deal.
Usually, but it sounds great. Steve knows this story because I told him when I was in Palm Springs. I had to call Steve later and apologize to him because I was preparing for a PBS special, and I just had a bad show in Palm Springs. At the end of it, and I'm backstage. Somebody says, "Hey, your news director from New York is here, Steve." I said, "Oh, tell him to hold on." And I ended up in a long, long conversation with my family, and he had to go, and I just felt terrible about it. So I chased him down and talked to him about it. But on that stage, I was talking about for 6 years, I've beaten, and we just got an all clear last week from MD Anderson. I had to beat cancer like 4 times.
Wow.
My goodness. And so that's been a full-time job, but we're coming back and starting concerts again. Yeah. And
also his book Relentless, since we're talking about books.
Right.
You got to get that book, folks. Relentless. I mean, when I talk about the soul of a guy and what he's really all about and what makes you happen, he lays it out in the book in a beautiful way. Yeah. And it's a tearful journey, but I recommend it. Relentless.
And having him here is a surprise to you, isn't it? You didn't expect it to happen.
No.
And
what's a surprise to John is that the Sully Band is going to open for him for the next tour.
Most of my friends aren't above ground.
That's great. That's great. I have to tell you though, you can look back on your life and people that make a difference in your life, mentors, right? Yeah. And people who speak into you, speak into your spirit, speak into your life. And that's really Steve. He's been that. There's only been a couple of people. One is a guy named Scott White who gave me a chance when I was homeless in New York to get on the radio. And Steve, and then David Michaels and Terry O'Neill from CBS Sports. Mm-hmm. But Steve was that guy, just an encourager and just an example of how to amplify talents.
And we've got a surprise for you, Mr. Tesh. We found the shoe you lost when you were homeless. I know.
You know how I know that's not my shoe?
1980.
Yeah. It's an NFT now.
Sneakers weren't invented when I lived in New York. That's how I know.
That's the only shoe I could steal from our intern here.
Hey, John, before we let you out of here, we do have a treat for you.
Let's do it.
One of the songs that you have written, the NBA song at NBC, I think we have prepared for you. So, the Sully Band.
Yeah.
What? Come on. Yeah. Come on. You can't teach that.
Yeah.
You can't teach that.
Oh,
so cool.
Fantastic. John, thank you so much for
Thanks,
joining us.
John.
When you're in San Diego, will you come in studio with us and hang out with us a little bit?
I'd love to. And Steve, I know I ran my mouth like crazy, but I really wanted to take this opportunity. First of all, your producers are great. But to give me this opportunity, I just wanted to say thank you for guiding my life at that time. It was I know the whole thing was a big responsibility. You had other people that were very talented in that newsroom, and I'll never forget you for it. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
John Tesh, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, legend. You weren't expecting that, were you? How do you like that, huh?
You know what? When I emailed John
That's
Tesh,
amazing.
when I emailed John Tesh,
yeah.
he said, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Without hesitation.
Because a lot of times in email, they just say, who's this?
Yeah, again. And you have mastered that look. It's good to know that you had it years ago.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Really, thank you guys. That was such a sweet,
Thank you.
sweet thing to do.
Yeah, we have your high school principal, but
No.
tried.
There's so many things to get to
There's
here.
enough negatives out there. No, I think you look at that period is an interesting period because it was before cable. It was before CNN.
Yeah.
The only place all the most talented people who were going to be anybody could be was in New York City.
Right.
There were only 3 stations. I ran one of them.
Right.
Yeah.
I was just 30, and the guy that ran it across the street, Ronnie Kershaw, ran Channel 4. He was Jessica Savage's long-term boyfriend. Ronnie Tendelia, another great in the industry, ran the other. And we all hung together. So all the people who you all would know, like he was reeling them off. So for me, it was Tesh. O'Reilly replaced Tesh.
Wow.
Brian Williams, Meredith Fiora, I hired out of Providence, Rhode Island. She was a little gal out of there, And so you just begin to add them up, and then behind the scenes,
Right.
I had 3, 4 about to be CBS presidents of CBS News that
No
were
kidding.
my
Working on the-
managing editors. So you just get a sense of a classic moment. And then the last guy in that chain, who I think all of our audience will know, was a young radio guy. He was in radio, a wonderful young man, and his name was Lester Holt.
Wow.
I said, Lester, you've never been on TV, have you? But you've got a great voice. You've got a fantastic look. Let's see if we can teach you how to do TV. Sure. And we got him in, hired him, and put him on TV.
Still there.
And there's another guy, because some guys forget you along the way, right? Mm-hmm. Some guys remember you, like John or Lester. All these years, Lester has always been, and Brian Williams as well, so kind. They always pick it up and say, hey, Steve, how you doing? What's going on?
Steve Cohen,
There's so
our
much
music
to
director.
say.
It's 4th of July weekend. We got the Sully Band. We got Steve Cohen. We're on the air. We'll see you in a second.
With Sully, Little Tommy, and Rusty Nailz. It's 4th of July weekend. Someone that is synonymous to America, to liberty, to freedom, and to the 4th of July is Mr. Lee Greenwood. Let's bring up Mr. Lee Greenwood right
Can you
now.
believe we got Lee
Wait.
Greenwood in studio? Hey, man.
Holy
Mr. Greenwood.
Happy 4th, brother.
Thank you very much. Happy Independence Day to you guys.
And thank you very much for doing this because, you are synonymous to America, to freedom, to liberty, and to this weekend. And it's such a treat to have you on, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a long way since Daisy's in El Cajon for me.
That's right. Because you spent a few years here in San Diego as a teenager, right?
Yes, I did. I worked. I used to get my check from a grocery store, as I recall, and I worked at West Point Loma in a place called the Syndicate, which is a bar right down there, and of course Coronado Island. And I loved San Diego. Believe me, and I'm a Californian, born in Los Angeles.
Hey, Lee, so I heard that there is a Lee Greenwood story on Fox coming up here.
The documentary, It's
yeah.
Proud to be an American, the Lee Greenwood Story, debuts on Fox Nation on July 1.
There we
Look
go.
at that.
There he is. Perfect. And then, of course, your work with the God Bless the USA Bible. Talk about that a little bit.
It's interesting that after all these years as a Christian, and I've had a lot of people ridicule me about my faith, but I'll tell you, the way this country got started, my new God Bless the USA Bible, which is a custom unique Bible containing the complete text of the Old and New Testament, of course, inspired by my hit song, most recognized patriotic anthem in America, God Bless the USA. You'll hear it everywhere. It pre-order is available now and it ships in late September. The Ultimate American Bible includes the King James Version and the founding documents of America, including the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Wow. There we go. And you can go to GodBlessTheUSABible.com. Can you tell us, Lee, do you remember where you were and what you were doing in life and such when you wrote that song?
I toured every doghouse, outhouse, roundhouse in America, starting 79, 1980. I wrote USA in 1983 in the back of my bus between Arkansas and Texas. And it was one of those things I just wanted to do for my country, but it was never intended to be a single nor a record. It was on the album You've Got a Good Love Coming, which we had already filmed a video for $25,000. And I was surprised that Universal said, we're going to release USA first. And I was shocked. But after putting it on stage and found out the acceptance of the public, it was no doubt that it had to go to the closer of my show.
It's one of those songs when I hear it, I get little weird goosebumps. But now just listening to you talk about it, I'm getting the same weird
little weepy?
goosebumps. Yeah.
Well, of course,
it's a great song, and it just hits you.
Well, of course, when the Navy ships come in now, they play that song every single time, and we've done a number of live broadcasts on radio as those ships are coming in. I got to try to hold it together on live television and radio when that song's playing.
No.
Absolutely.
Hey, Lee.
So my dad joined the Navy right after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. So I was born in 42, so you can kind of see the time frame. My mother had 2 young children. She never forgave my father for serving the country and divorced him. And I didn't know either one of my parents very well. I was raised on a farm in Sacramento, California, and I had my teenage years there. When I finished high school, I went to Las Vegas, Nevada at the age of 17 and never went back.
My goodness.
Hey, Lee, with all of us surviving 2020 and the pandemic, what does 4th of July 2021 mean to you?
Real people.
Real smiles.
Real people without a mask on.
Yeah.
We had 7 shows in 2020. I can't tell you how excited we are to get back on the road. And we've already performed about 3 dozen shows since March. But this 4th of July weekend, finally, most of us vaccinated. We're moving forward to live audiences. I'll be all over the country.
Where do people find your tour schedule, Lee?
LeeGreenwood.com, of course, and all the social medias are at the Lee Greenwood on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Well, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Sully Band has a little treat for you today. I'm not sure if you're aware of this or not, but James, are we going to play a little Lee Greenwood for him? And Lee, if you feel like singing along, I mean, you wrote it.
What do you
after
got?
all.
And can we get a close-up of my goosebumps?
Yeah.
Okay.
Here they are. Oh. Got him, right? Well done, boys. That was John Hartford on guitar, James East on bass there, and of course Trace Hodgins playing the beat. But Lee, got to thank you for all you've done, and that I'll tell you what, you blessed the entire country, the entire world with that song.
Yes.
Well, God bless America and all of those who have fought for our freedom. Don't let anybody tell you that America's not worth dying for, because it certainly is.
Well, next time you come to San Diego, you got to get on that stage here, right here with us. And
that would be
That would be fantastic. Your band sounds fantastic. I love
thank
that.
you. Good.
See that?
Follow us on Instagram, The Sully Band.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go. I think we already follow you. Lee Greenwood, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. See? This is our 4th of July week. You can even talk now. Are y'all goosey up?
Are you verklempt?
You know, this is his weekend, the 4th of July weekend. He's busy, and he took time to get on KUSI on the air with Sully, Little Tommy, and Rusty Nailz.
It's because of Tommy's black.
Oh, that's right.
Tommy's. You do have the Beck's Rolodex in the plane. Do you even know what a Rolodex is?
You know what, though? That's a great book. Think about that, putting all those documents together.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a great book to have.
And
in your home.
he, you know, I just hate to think of some of the people that aren't so happy with him or what he's done. And I would just tell those people, just stop it.
Yeah.
Just knock it off.
Hey, Steve, I have a question for you. So you said you were 30 years old in New York City, running a network newsroom.
Yeah.
How did you get there?
30 New York.
How did you get there?
Well, it's pretty simple. I was at the University of Michigan about to get my PhD in history, and it was the late 60s. In the late 60s, the world was falling apart. And I just wanted to be closer to what was going on. I had tried to get into the service to go over to Vietnam when I was getting my PhD, and I went, and I thought I was going, but unfortunately, or maybe fortunately,
Flat feet or something?
Yeah, no, I had an injury from high school where my arm was horribly broken in a fight, and the medics took me aside, X-rayed me, and said, "There's no blank and blank way.
Yeah.
We're sending you.
Right.
You're deferred. You're 4F."
In a fight, you are from Philly, aren't you?
I was. I was.
Exactly right.
What happened to the other guy?
It was
Your
this.
arm was so damaged. Oh, that thing, yeah. Yeah.
It was a particularly interesting fight. I was in a championship baseball game. The guy at home plate was coming at my pitcher with a bat. I ran to get in front of my pitcher so the guy wouldn't hit him with the bat. Guy hit me with a bat and
Right.
shattered my arm. So that guy, who will remain nameless, basically saved me from going to Nam.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have Nam, and I said, I'm going to be a journalist.
Yeah.
So I got in my car and I drove from Ann Arbor, Michigan, till I found a job. Wow. I found a job in Jonesboro, Arkansas.
Hey, when we come back, I want to ask Mr. Cohen about a man I had to study. His name is William Paley. And I want to talk to Steve Cohen about the legendary William Paley.
All right, on the air is on the air. Steve Cohen, the Sully Band. Much more to come. Stand by. You guys look like you did that before.
Oh, yeah.
100%. The Sully Band, ladies and
Well,
gentlemen.
so far, pretty good.
They sound better without me.
Yeah, I know.
I think they need to be.
Are they looking for a new lead singer? Because I do that every so often. You know, Monarch 067.
That would be tragic.
Hey, Mr. Cohen.
We don't want to do that.
Hey, Steve. When I studied radio and television as a kid,
Yeah.
Where did you study, Tommy?
I went to San Diego City College for a half a semester. And
I parked in state.
Half the semester.
And
So
then-
4 weeks.
yes.
Okay.
And then, but we
studied.
studied a man named William Paley.
Right.
Yeah.
He's a pioneer.
Yeah.
Right.
And I see your book right here, and it says Bill Paley right there on top.
Right.
Can you talk about your experience with Mr. William Paley?
Sure. The career goes Arkansas, Peoria, Detroit, Boston, New York. Okay.
Right.
So I'm in New York. It's the late '70s, and I'm doing news, right? And we're doing the election one night, and William Paley, the creator of CBS, the great of radio and then television. His dad was a cigar manufacturer, took the money and bought broadcast stations, right? So him and Sarnoff, they were the guys. Mm-hmm. So I'm in the studio with my team, and we're getting ready for the election. I get a tap on my shoulder, and I turn around. It's Mr. Paley.
Wow.
It's the chairman. He says, "I hear you're Mr. Cohen, right, from Philadelphia." I said, "Yes, I am, sir." And, I'm like ready to die.
Yes.
And he said, I just want you to know, this is why I have a network, is to give the people this information. And you've got the big ship, son.
No kidding.
Son. Take care of it for me.
No
So I said yes. That was my first meeting with him. I had one more meeting, but the big meeting I had with William Paley is I run Channel 2 in New York. I run Channel 2 in L.A. There was a point in my life where I ran both of them at the same time. It was right when John Belushi died. Mm-hmm. So they needed me in L.A. right away. So I did 3 days in New York and 2 days in L.A. and vice versa.
And is it true they flew you back and
Yeah,
forth?
I flew back and forth. So there's an opening in my hometown of Philly to run the television station. In those days, big companies only owned 5 stations. Not all, you only had 5 stations if you were a network.
Right.
Okay. So I was about to get the chance to run one of those 5 assets in my hometown.
Phew.
But before that happened, Mr. Paley summoned me to his office.
Wow.
And on the 34th floor of a place called Black Rock.
Right.
And I'm like an experienced dude now. I mean, I'm a CBS guy. I've run big newsrooms. Connie Chung, Maury Povich, all these people. I think I'm a hot shot, right?
Club 54 hanging out.
I get into the elevator, and there's a guy in the elevator who takes you up to the 34th floor. There's nobody else on the 34th floor except Mr. Paley.
Oh no.
So I'm still sweating just talking about it. So I go up to the 34th floor, and there's a beautiful, incredibly not dead gorgeous secretary there, just like unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like Raquel Welch. And so
Russ in a dress.
I'm already like I can't talk.
Yeah. No.
And she said, "Look, Steve, just sit down, take it easy for a little bit, and we'll bring you in. You're going to have lunch with the chairman. Just you and the chairman, nobody else, just you and Bill."
Wow.
So I sit there, I try to get relaxed, and all around me, I'm trying to relax. There's Chagalls, Renoirs, right? Not.
They were there too?
They were there too.
Oh, I see. But real art.
They came by to say hello.
That's how old this story is.
But they're all there, and so I go in to have lunch with him, and just the two of us, and we're served by gentlemen with white gloves. It's a white glove service,
Sure.
and he has some wine, I don't, and I'm in the presence of one of the great men of all time. And so I'm asking him questions because I'm a journalist. I want to know about his life. He has no interest in telling me about his life. He only wants to know about my life. He wants to know about my mom, my dad, my sister, what Philly was like to me growing up, which was not easy. No, not an easy life. I had a hard life.
How'd you break your arm, stuff like that? Yeah.
No, I didn't get to that.
Yeah.
But we talked about the streets of Philadelphia and whether I was the right guy to go back. He doesn't tell me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
But then at the end, right before I left, he said, "You know what? You're going to get this job.
Wow.
You're going to get this."
That's a good deal.
He said, "Tomorrow, you and your boss are going to take Amtrak from New York, and you're going to go to Philadelphia, and you're going to be announced as the new guy, as the general manager." And that's what happened.
That was a big tipping point for you.
Yeah, and then I became GM in Philly. But the real end of that story, which is even more interesting, is so I'm in Philadelphia for like almost 8 years, have these big offices and everything, and every year the board meeting of CBS goes from one station to another. That year it was at my station, and what was going to happen was Thomas Wyman. Pelly stepped down and he gave the reins over to a guy named Tom Wyman who ran Pillsbury and Polaroid. And Wyman wasn't doing a good job. So that the board meeting was right through my door in my conference room. And it was Walter Cronkite was there.
Oh, jeez.
Larry Tisch was there. Tom Wyman was there. So my job was to take care of Mr. Tisch, which I did. I had to shepherd him around.
Sure.
My station manager had Walter, who was a lot more fun to be with, around. And through that door, the leadership of CBS changed from being Paley-oriented to being Tisch-oriented right there. By the end of the day, CBS was in the hands of this fellow named Larry Tisch.
Yeah.
Okay.
And not in the hands of William Paley. And I, little kid from Philly, got to see that, be part of that circle of power.
And they all had the Philly cheesesteak sandwich for lunch. I'm certain.
Most of them were Gino, not Pat guys. I was a Pat guy.
Okay.
So it was just Pat. Steve, isn't that interesting?
Yeah. It is.
No,
you just get a sense of what can happen all of a sudden in a lifetime, and then bam! I mean, it's over. And I was driving Tisch to see Arlen, Senator Specter.
Yeah.
Because I had set up a meeting with him and Specter. He'd never met him. So I'm driving in the car, and Tisch says, Cohen, I don't know whether it's going to work out with you and me. I said, I don't know either, Mr. Tisch, but you're the chairman now. He said, well, here's the first thing you can do for me. That parking lot where you park your goddamn car? I'm sending my guys over next week. We're going to turn into a 5-story office building.
Yeah. We're wasting space.
That's literally what he said to me.
That's the first deal.
And I said, okay,
That's the first deal.
Mr. Tisch, I'll get that done.
Fine.
And from that launches things like paying off Chubby Checker with a Porsche, getting to play pool with Christopher Waltz.
Well, that's it. That's
launching
on the
court TV.
That's on the
Let's
cover
get to
too.
that.
We got
So when
walking
we come
here.
back, that's exactly what we want to talk about. Let's
let's
talk
start-
about all of those
let's start
stories
with
coming up.
Chubby.
Because
Chubby.
On the Air with Steve Cohen is on the air.
Hot.
We're an American band. We're coming to your town. We're gonna party it down. We're an American band. We're an
It's the 4th of
American
July
band.
weekend, and On the Air is on the air with the Sully Band and Steve Cohen. All kinds of America music today.
Yes.
For the 4th of July and Independence Day. Steve, I have a question for you.
Sure.
And honestly, you and I have known each other for
Long time.
a long time. In fact, you gave me my start in television. I was a radio guy, and you gave me my start in television. I would argue you probably gave Tommy start his television.
Yes.
You said yes
Ended
to
mine.
Russ's.
Called me in and said, "Don't ever
said,
come
"Don't
over
ever
here."
do that again.
we get don't
That
do
roster of people that you were working with
Yeah.
during that John Tesh interview we were
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
How long would we any of us have lasted in that time? Because that's the major
door
league.
would've-
man.
That was a different. I mean, it was a different time because we were all hardball. You know, what we do now in television and the opportunities we have to be lighter, softer,
Yeah.
unique, and funny. No,
That didn't exist.
It's all hardcore. Nobody smiled. I tell you, there wasn't a smile in those. I don't even think in those years. at
But did
CBS.
they have a-
Nobody cracked a smile. There was just all really serious stuff.
You know what they're missing? A business guy.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
I'm just saying they were missing a business.
I see,
guy.
yeah.
They needed a business guy.
No, I had Jane Brian Quinn as my business person.
Thanks for making me feel like
Yeah,
that.
There you go.
You know,
Sorry.
I remember first time
That's who I hired. I hired.
That's the bar.
I had
Great.
Jane Brian Quinn and Louis Rukeyser.
Oh my gosh,
Well,
Lee,
so-
look
You're
at it.
close in there. Well, first time I met you,
You're
I
in
walked
there. You're in that world.
I walk in your office. I thought, is this Lloyd Bridges? Because I remember, because at first, and from the movie
I
Airplane, but Sea Hunt. I mean, Lloyd Bridges is one of my favorite. I think there he is, right there.
Yeah,
If
there he
you
is.
could just comb the hair a little different, I think
Yeah.
we'd have a good career for you.
Yeah, he had a sense, but the difference is he had a sense of humor.
He
I have
smiled.
none.
Yeah.
So wait a minute.
You do though.
So how did Chubby Checker, get into your
Well,
world?
I mean,
Yeah, how's that in your world?
well, I'm in Philadelphia, and we were doing, station promotions, and and a friend of mine had an idea. Let's take Chubby's song. Twist Again, like we did last summer, and turn it into a TV jingle, which was It's 10 Again, which is the name of the station. So
Oh, it's
my-
10 again. It's twist again.
10
Okay, I got
again, like you did last
Right,
summer.
okay.
So so we need Chubby to agree. So I knew Chubby. I'm a Philly kid, Jersey guy, and he came by my office, and I said, look, I really want to. Here's what we want to do. Can you do it? He said, I'd love to do it. I said, well, what do I need to pay you? He said, I don't want you to pay me. I said, you're going to do this for free? He said, oh, no, I'm not going to. Chubby said, I'm not doing this for free. Man. He gets up, walks around my office like I'm an idiot. I mean, no, you're going to pay me. Oh, yeah. I said, well, what do you want? He said, there's a new Porsche out. I want you to buy me the new Porsche. And I'm going to get a license plate that'll say 10 again on it. And you buy me the Porsche. When you deliver the Porsche, I'll give you the song. And that's a true story.
It's
And
simple
that's what I-
as that.
That's what I did.
And that's what you did.
And in those days, which I think this is the biggest difference in broadcasting these days, I didn't have to go to anybody.
I was going to say, did you have to run up the ladder?
I didn't have to go on anybody to get approval. I have
Just took out the checkbook?
I had a budget, a promotion budget. I said, well, look, take this out of the promotion budget, go down to Jimmy's,
Porsche.
Jimmy in South Philly, get me a Porsche.
Yeah.
And Jimmy said, when do you want it, Cohen? I said,
and that
no,
was it.
this afternoon, I need it.
Right.
They drove the black Porsche over. He gave him the papers. Chubby signed the papers, and then the next day
That
I
was
had a
it.
jingle.
Did he fit?
Incredible.
Did he fit in a Porsche? Was he that chubby?
I had a jingle the next day.
With all the news people,
Isn't that interesting? I mean, that's just like
it's
chubby.
incredible.
And-
with all the news people you hung out with, and you did get to cross paths with guys like that, and actors and actresses and everything else.
No, no.
Christopher Walken as well.
Yeah, so I was in Salt Lake City running a station for Chris Kraft. This is later in the career, the late '90s, and there's a guy named Mars Callahan, terrific actor, and he wants to do a movie. He can't afford it. So I said, look, Mars, here's what we'll do. We'll do all the below line stuff in Salt Lake City. Cost you nothing, no union,
Yeah.
right? He said, great. He said, but I got to bring all my actors to Salt Lake. I said, well, who you bringing? He said, well, I got Rod Steiger, Chaz Palminteri, Schroeder, what's his name? Ricky Schroeder.
Ricky Schroeder.
Rick Schroeder, and Chris Walken. Do you mind? I mean, can we put him up in a hotel? I said, yeah, no problem. We'll get it. We'll take care of it. So because I helped him out up below the line, he said, I want to put you in the movie. Can you play pool? I said, you bet I can play pool. I'm a great pool.
One of the greatest movies of all time.
I'm a great pool player. It's called Pool Hall Junkies.
Pool Hall Junkies.
So
that's exactly
You're
right.
one.
So Mars says, yeah, man, if you can play pool, you're going to play Walken in a scene.
How about that?
So,
Look,
I'm up for 3 nights practicing my pool.
Yeah.
Because I'm scared. I mean, I'll tell you, I don't think anything has scared me more.
You're more behind
Who's Christopher
the camera.
Walken? He's
My
a
whole
scary
life was
guy.
Walken. So I'm down there at the pool table, and me and another guy, both with, I was supposed to be a Swedish guy, right? Right. So anyway, so I had a few lines. We start playing pool, and Walken's there. I mean, he's in character. I mean, he's a really bad guy, and I'm playing him for his Mercedes. That's the stakes.
Sure.
So he looks right at me. He says, and it's on camera. And you can see all this, by the way. It's all on
in the movie.
on YouTube. No, go to YouTube and get all these scenes.
We will.
So here's the capper. So I'm scared to death.
Yeah.
I'm playing lousy pool, but they had a mechanic there, so the mechanic would set up all your shots.
Sure.
And the mechanic would say, "Look, if you, Mr. Cohen, hit the pool ball right where I marked it, everything's going to happen." So he'd hit the pool ball, and all the balls would go in.
Yeah,
right? And
no kidding.
So here's the scene. This is the capper of the scene where he beats me. There's a pool ball. Right on the bunker, right there, right? And Walken's got to hit the cue like that, straight down, to get the ball to go across the table. So what the mechanics set up happens. So they have a master shot, in cameras. You always have a master shot.
Right.
So nobody thinks this. We think this is going to take 100 takes, easily 100 takes. Walken will never hit that ball. So we're all there. We're all doing our lines and stuff. Walken, in character, fearsome dude. He just comes over it. Picks up that cue, he lays his last line down, and the camera comes in on all of our eyeballs like this will never happen. And on the first take, he hits the ball, it goes across the table, knocks all the other balls, perfect thing.
Wow.
And we're in the master shot, so we've got to react and so we all hold for like a second until the director says cut, and then the room just...
The place went nuts.
What the?
The place just explodes. But the beauty of that is, Walken,
That's it.
next line.
No kidding.
He just, all right, what's next?
No kidding. He was smooth as a gravy sandwich.
But
Ice water.
I would say that was that's a scary moment. When,
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about guys like that, but like Walken, or I've met guys like Clint Eastwood, or even Tom Selleck. There's something about guys that are stars, and even though they can, like Walken was like fearsome, but like a Tom Selleck, he's the guy was a sweetheart.
Great guy, yeah.
But still, you just get like.
You get starstruck?
I did.
No one would have ever thought that Steve Cohen would be starstruck.
And you rub shoulders with a lot of these folks.
Hey, after the break, I want to talk to Steve about so many historic moments, from John Lennon to Jimmy Hoffa.
And his other books. Man, he wrote 6 books for that.
Holt TV.
Come on. On the air. John's our guest. Stand by. We got lots more to come. And a very, very happy Independence Day weekend to you all. On the air. Sully, little Tommy, Rusty Nailz, and of course the inimitable Steve Cohen and the Sully Band. Thank you, gents. Lady. Hey. Where's April? How come did you fire April? She's in Hawaii. Okay, good. Is that the international symbol for? Can we get a camera on Steve doing the
that's a good
international
little hula
symbol
dance. I saw
for Hawaii. Yeah, there we go.
There it is.
Yeah,
Very nice.
Steve Dillard, of course, horn player for the Righteous Brothers, Leonard Skinner, Huey Lewis. He was big in the 80s, and now...
Big, and he's 80.
And he's 80.
That's good to see him, yeah.
Hey, Mr. Cohen.
Yes, sir.
It is an honor to have you on this morning.
Well,
this
whatever.
is so cool.
Just fun to be with you guys.
This should be part of the lesson plan for any journalist,
Honestly.
teacher to give to the students.
Yeah.
Read this damn thing.
And you were in New York during many historic moments. I want to ask you about Monday, December 8th, 1980, because that's a big date for me. That's the date John Lennon was assassinated.
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
Sure, I can. It was a really difficult day for all of us. So it was late, but I don't know why, but I had taken a late jog around the perimeter of Central Park. So I was just so happened to be running by Central Park West and saw, a great collection of cop cars. I didn't know what it was.
Right.
But right across the street from the Dakota, which is where they lived, there's a phone booth. And in those days, you understand, there were no cell phones.
No.
You had the only thing we had was a beeper, which would say, call the desk.
Give you the number.
That was it.
Right.
So I got to the cell phone and I called operator 51. At CBS, there was always an operator on call that would find other people. So you call operator, I call CBS the number and I say, I need operator 51. Operator 51 comes and I said, do you have any clue what's happened? She said, I don't. I said, get hold of Chris Borgen, who was our chief cop shop reporter. He was a former homicide lieutenant.
Jeez.
Chris, African-American guy, fantastic. I said, I don't know, find Borgen. Just find him. I need to know right now. So sure enough, she tracks down, she gets on the phone, she gets to Borgen. And Borgen says, yeah, Steve, Lennon's dead.
Wow.
I said, it's across the street from me, Chris. He said, yeah. He said, I'm going to be in the station in like 5 minutes, and I'm sending trucks right now.
Yeah.
So they sent the trucks over, and then Chris showed up, and we started our report. Now, I think your viewers would be interested to know that the Lennon broadcast at 11 o'clock is actually on YouTube, my broadcast.
No kidding.
So if you go and put in Rollins Smith or WCBS Lennon death,
Oh, we will.
that broadcast is there. Has our open, has the sound, the music. We play Lennon's music at the top. We dissolved to Rollins Smith, who anchored here for many years, by the way. Rollins, after New York, came to San Diego and anchored at Channel 7. So Rollins there, and we did the show. And that was a frightening night because nobody knew what else was going to happen.
Sure.
And then in the next day or two, there was a memorial.
I remember.
To John. And so what myself and my executive producer did, we decided, and the CBS let us, take prime time, and we did the entire memorial. But we did it without any narration. We had cameras all over Central Park and Strawberry Fields. And we had the cameras around, and then we did quotes and music over the whole thing. And we did that for 3 hours. You talk about Emmys and stuff, so we went on.
Yeah, but that's one of the first. That's a wall-to-wall coverage. That was one of the first wall-to-wall coverage.
Does that make for a good anchor to know when to shut up?
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it's a skill set that you got to have.
Yeah.
So we didn't want to do any narration, but that night, that was that was one of those most frightening nights. I think that of some of those New York nights, you get a night like that. You get a night when Governor Rockefeller dies. Nelson Rockefeller. That's an interesting story because Governor Rockefeller died choking on what was really a pastrami sandwich of all things.
There you go.
But he was out with his girlfriend,
Jeez.
Megan Marshak, and she was his mistress. They were together.
Sure.
And unfortunately, Megan could not find work after that incident. She was a journalist. Yeah. She worked for the AP.
No kidding.
And I said, and I remember the conversation saying to her, I don't give a blank goddamn. You want to work, you come to work for us. And she did, and she became a great writer, Megan Marshak. But she was there with Nelson when he died. She tried to save him.
Wow.
Now here at KUSI, you've had plenty of people come through, come in and out. If you were going to chisel a Mount Rushmore of KUSI people,
other than the three of us,
yes, what other one would be next to us? No. Who would
well,
be on there?
I think for us, you'd have to put Michael Turco and John Coleman.
100%.
Absolutely.
I think those are the
Turco, yes.
Turco and
Coleman invented the Weather Channel.
In terms of the of the pillars that made KUSI in those early years, the McKinnon family bringing on two one-of-a-kinds in Coleman and Turco. I think we still suffer. We have great people that have come in to replace them. Of course, like the incredible, Mark Mathis.
Mark Mathis, yeah, I've heard of him.
That's why I brought it up. Iconic in his own right.
Couldn't have got it out with it.
And John Coleman with KUSI. KUSI.
USI.
I mean, they go on the Rushmore. I think San Diego's had a lot of people that have come and gone and great folks, but I think they're just unique.
Yeah.
How did you get to San Diego? How did you get the KUSI job?
Oh, I was coming out of helping a buddy out who ran a Hollywood film agency, and he was having family problems. He needed somebody to run his agency. He said, "Cohen, can you do this for me?" I said, "Sure, I'll do it." And so I got in there, and it was called Diverse Talent Group. Doesn't exist now, but it was then 10th or 12th biggest. And I got to hang out with Dean Stockwell. I represented Marty Landau for a while. Got him into
Martin Landau.
Got Marty into
goodness.
a few films. Got him into a film with Harrison Ford and
Sure.
Josh Hartnett and stuff. So it was a nice thing. I loved it, but I was lousy at it.
Yeah.
I just didn't. Have
I don't
the right
think you're lousy at
personality.
anything, and I have to say.
So I got
first of
out
all,
of it.
Can we call this part one? Can we call this show
Sure.
part one? Would that be okay?
Yes.
Would that be? Because I'll tell you, I have to tell you. Oh, by the way, here's Mark for you.
Please hurry. This is very crucial. Seriously.
there he is.
This is from Old Navy. Not no.
I'm not
What's
sure.
underneath? It looks like
That's your weather guy. But can I just tell you, that's the guy that you paid to do weather.
I'm blushing. Pardon me.
I just have to say, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for giving me a
great.
chance 20 years ago.
Of course.
And
Come on.
thanks for me every time I plead to keep Russ on. Thanks for listening to me on that.
And thank you. I mean, thank you. You did a lot for me.
I'm not this guy.
Steve Cohen.